Richard Walker, head of parking. It says Colchester, but the particular organisation with covers includes Harlow. Tell us about the campaign, Beyond the Uniform. Is it Beyond the Uniform? Is that right?
Yeah, it's called Beyond the Uniform. But the idea of the campaign is to give a bit of human side to what we do. All our offices are somebody's mum or dad or uncle or son or daughter. And it's about the way people interact with our officers. So we've had one or two incidents, and unfortunately, it's been a bit of a growing thing where people have either verbally or even physically attacked some of our officers. So this campaign is just really to show there's a bit of human side to what we do, and they're real people beyond the uniform.
Because they're just doing their job, aren't they? There's parking restrictions, etc. You know, there's lines, doubles, singles, and that's all they're doing, aren't they?
That's right. I mean, we're there to keep traffic moving. That's essentially our job. And the idea is that we patrol the roads, and most of the time we're not issuing penalties at all. Actually, we're giving help to people. You know, giving directions, or we're like the visitor information service in a lot of these cases. It's very rare that we actually issue penalties at all. But just occasionally, there's these things that go on sort of around the job, and while people are walking around on patrol, there'll be something else, people just making comments and the rest of it. And just occasionally, more than that, unfortunately, yes.
And as your campaign says, as you said, these are people in Essex, in Harlow, in Essex, all walks of life, doing like many jobs, doing a job, aren't they?
That's right, yes. I mean, we cover a lot of North Essex, so we cover the area from Harwich on the coast right round through to North London, and Harlow's sort of in the middle of the area that we cover, and we're patrolling on streets and in car parks across that patch, and we come across a lot of lovely people doing the job, and for the most part, it's fine, absolutely fine, but just occasionally there's people who take things a little bit too far.
Yeah. And so, what's your advice to those people?
I'd say just have a conversation with our officers exactly the way we're having a conversation now. If a penalty's been issued or something, that's happened, hasn't it? You can't change that right now. There's nothing you can do to the officer. Just count to 10 or take a deep breath. Just have a normal conversation, and the rest will follow on later. If you need to make a challenge or something, then there's a very good system for doing all of that. But just treat the officer as you would another member of the public.
There's also, I don't know if this is within your remit of this interview, but is there an appeal system? If somebody said, I parked there for 40 minutes, not an hour, and you give me a ticket for over an hour, is there some sort of appeal system?
Yes, there is. Yeah, there's a challenge system, and then we'll respond to that. And if that's rejected, there's an appeal system where you can make representations. If that's rejected, then there's an adjudication system that you can go to and speak to a completely independent adjudicator. The local authority, we're a local authority based service. The local authority system is perhaps different from the private parking one in that we have a completely independent adjudicator, and you can make an appeal to them. And they're like lawyers that you go. They're independent of what we do completely. We pay a levy to support them, and that all exists separately from the local authority. So there's a very fair system. Getting the penalty is only the first part of a four-stage process there. Even if you do get a penalty, I'd still advise you to park, properly in accordance with the regulations. Use a car park if you possibly can, and that's by far the best place to park.
So going back a little bit, are there jobs in which you'd say it's simply passing attention? So, for example, Saturday mornings, I go down to the Harlow Town Park and park there to do my very, very, very slow park run. But sometimes I've seen seen the officer there, but is it sometimes just passing attention to make sure 300 people who are parked at 8:30 in the morning, everything's okay?
That's mostly the job. Yes, if we're there and something's happened, we'll give some advice and help people out. If we see something, or if there's an interaction while somebody's there, then generally a penalty won't be issued in those circumstances. We'll give some advice. The person moves on, and our job is done. The road's clear, and we can keep traffic moving, or the car park is available for those people who need it. Yeah.
And as another hat went away, as a grandfather of four, the question on behalf of my daughter is like schools. Is in a school run again? Is it just sort of trying to make sure there's some flow going on?
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of schools across our patches, in excess of 300 of them, so we can't be absolutely everywhere all the time. But that's one of these points of congestion. Now, everybody needs to be there at exactly the same time. And to some degree, I can see as a bit of desperation happens, if you can't find a space and things are a bit chaotic on the road outside. But the idea there, just leave a little bit more time, maybe park around the corner or a little bit further away and walk that last little bit, park somewhere it's safe, away from driveways and all the rest of it, and give yourself a little bit of time if you possibly can. I know it's chaotic in the morning, but everybody's in the same boat, and we're just there to help out. But if people are parking dangerously, or negligently in some cases, then that's where we'll step in and we'll issue a penalty in those circumstances. Yeah.
But is there a line here? We're talking about conciliation of parking, but there is a line there to say to members of the public, these wardens, are ordinary working people doing a job, and if you threaten them or assault them, you may well feel the full force of the law. We make sure we get that point across, shouldn't we, Richard?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there have been one or two cases, unfortunately, where there's people have overstepped the line. I mean, there should be no line at all. You should just have a conversation with a person. But in the heat of the moment, sometimes things happen. And where things have got a little bit too heated, yes, we'll take the full force of the law. We'll ask our officer and accompany them with some documentation to take to the police, and if necessary through to the courts as well, and we'll press for a prosecution. And we've been successful in some cases just lately. Yeah.
Good. And for your officers as well, do you have a support? One of them just comes back and says, "This man, he didn't commit an offence, you know what I mean? But somebody has just given me a mouth." Do you have a support structure for your officers?
Yes, we do. Yes, and we ask people to buddy up in those terms. When something's happened, we take them off the beat as such. Then we'll ask them to fill in a form, so that enables them to get all the details down concurrently with what's just happened for them. And we'll keep a record of those, and we'll look for patterns in behaviour there as well. But also we support our people through. So there's a letter to the officer that tells them all the support, employee assistance and all the rest of it that can go with them. If there's been a serious incident, it'll go with counselling and some of the other routes for people to take. And if they have to go off sick as well or absent, we have one officer in the area who's absent just at the moment who had a particularly nasty incident where she was pinned up against a van, and she's been off for a time. And we'll take all these circumstances into consideration when these things happen. But that it just shouldn't get to that stage. You should just be having a conversation like we are.
So, in conclusion, what do you hope at the end of this particular campaign? But I know it's an ongoing campaign, so to speak. What do you hope to get out of this? What do you hope to achieve?
I just want to raise a bit of awareness, really, put a spotlight on our frontline workers. It's our officers out on the beat. It's also our technical support teams who maintain the machines, and our people on the telephones as well. They can't escape either. Just to shine a light on those, to say it's just like we're having a conversation here. We're real people. It's somebody's mum or dad, it's somebody's uncle, somebody's aunt, somebody's son or daughter. It's just another member of the public that you're having a conversation with. Put the parking stuff aside for a minute, have a conversation with them, and if we can just lessen the amount of aggravation that people receive, so much the better, really, and we can all go about our day.